Have you ever lain awake at night, the soft hum of the world outside your window fading into silence, and wondered why love can feel so heavy after a year of carrying it? It's a question that creeps into the minds of many women as decades of marriage unfold. What begins as a vibrant tapestry of shared dreams and tender moments can slowly unravel into threads of irritation, quiet bitterness, or even a longing to escape. Picture this: a woman sitting at her kitchen table, the morning light spilling across a cup of coffee gone cold, staring at the man she vowed to love forever, and feeling a pang of something she can't quite name. Why does this happen? Why do so many women, after pouring their hearts into a life built with someone, find themselves adrift, exhausted, unseen, or resentful toward the partner they once couldn't imagine living without? Today, we're diving deep into the hidden currents that pull marriages into these stormy waters over time. This isn't about fleeting annoyances or petty squabbles. It's about the slow, seismic shifts that reshape a relationship, often unnoticed until the warmth has faded into a chill. From evolving emotional needs to the weight of unspoken frustrations, we'll uncover the patterns that turn connection into distance. Stick with me until the end, because what we'll explore might just shift how you see your own relationships, past, present, or even someone else's. Understanding these undercurrents offers a chance to steer things back toward shore, to rediscover a bond that feels alive and meaningful. Let's begin. 1. The invisible load that wears her down. Imagine carrying a basket overflowing with everyone else's needs, day after day, year after year, while no one stops to ask if it's too heavy. For countless women, this is the reality of emotional labor, the unseen work of keeping a marriage, a family, a life stitched together. It's not just the meals cooked or the floors swept. It's the birthdays remembered, the schedules juggled, the arguments smoothed over with a gentle word. It's the quiet vigilance of making sure everyone else is okay, often at the expense of her own peace. And when that effort goes unnoticed for decades, it's like pouring water into a cracked cup. Eventually, there's nothing left to give. Take Ellen, a 74-year-old former schoolteacher with a laugh that once lit up rooms. For 47 years, she was the heartbeat of her home. She'd rise before dawn to pack lunches for her 3 kids, teach all day, then come home to orchestrate dinners while her husband Tom unwound with the newspaper. She planned every Christmas gathering, down to the cranberry sauce recipe his mother loved, and kept track of their friends' milestones so Tom could shine at social events. But one snowy evening, as she hauled out decorations alone, she realized Tom hadn't thanked her in years. Not for the meals, the memories, or the way she made their life feel effortless. Now, when she looks at him, she doesn't see the man she married. She sees a stranger who never saw her. Ellen's story isn't rare. Many women carry this load, a silent symphony of care, only to find their husbands assume it's just what wives do. Early on, a thank you or a warm smile might have been enough to keep her going. But after decades, if Tom still thinks his paycheck balanced the scales, he's missed the point. Marriage isn't a ledger, it's a dance, and she's been swaying alone. The exhaustion creeps in, not from the tasks, but from feeling invisible. Resentment isn't born in a single moment. It's a garden tended by years of being unappreciated. If you've ever felt your efforts fade into the background, know this: you're not the only one whispering into that void. 2. From lovers to strangers, under one roof, remember the thrill of those early days. The way a shared glance could spark laughter, or how a late-night talk felt like uncovering a treasure. For many women, that magic fades into a quieter ache as marriage becomes less a romance and more a roommate agreement. It's not a sudden break, but a slow drift, missed chances to connect, conversations that shrink to, "Did you pay the electric bill?" Until one day, she realizes the man beside her feels more like a tenant than a soulmate. The couch they once cuddled on now holds two bodies, miles apart in spirit. Consider Sarah, a 71-year-old retired nurse with a soft spot for old jazz records. When she and her husband James were newlyweds, they'd dance in their tiny apartment, the scratch of the needle on vinyl mingling with their giggles. They'd walk hand in hand through the park, dreaming of the future. But as the years piled on, James retreated, first into work, then into silence. Now, he spends evenings glued to the TV, grunting replies while Sarah sips tea alone at the kitchen counter. She once tried to rekindle things, suggesting a walk or a dance. "I'm tired," he'd say, not seeing how her heart sank. To James, nothing's wrong. He's home, isn't he? But to Sarah, everything's changed. This shift haunts so many marriages because too many men think presence is enough. They forget that love needs tending, flirtation, curiosity, a hand on the shoulder just because. Without it, Sarah feels less like a wife and more like a fixture. She's hinted at her loneliness, asked for more, but James brushes it off. So she stops asking, and the silence grows roots. If you've ever felt that sting of being near someone, yet so alone, you're not imagining it. It's a quiet epidemic. Drop a 2 in the comments if this hits home. I'd love to know you're here. 3. The wounds that never healed. Every marriage has its scars. Little cuts from sharp words, broken promises, moments brushed aside. But when those wounds fester, unresolved, they don't just fade, they build a wall, brick by brick. For many women, resentment grows not from one big betrayal, but from 1,000 tiny hurts that were never mended. A forgotten birthday, a dismissive, "You're too sensitive," an apology that never came. These stack up until she can't see past them. Meet Clara, a 76-year-old former accountant with a knack for crossword puzzles. She and her husband Henry looked solid from the outside. 48 years, a cozy house, grandkids who adored them. But inside, Clara carried a ledger of pain. She remembers the time Henry forgot their anniversary, laughing it off while she blinked back tears. Or when she poured out her fears about their son's struggles, and Henry shrugged, "He'll figure it out." She'd raised these hurts, hoping for a reckoning, but Henry's "let it go" felt like a slap. So she stopped fighting, and the love drained away, leaving a bitter residue. Clara's not alone. Unresolved conflicts don't vanish, they simmer. Henry thought her silence meant peace, but it was surrender. Over time, she stopped seeing him as her confidant and started seeing him as the man who didn't care. It's a shift that happens in the dark corners of a marriage, unnoticed by the one who caused it. If you've ever buried a hurt because speaking it felt pointless, you're walking a path many know too well. 4. A life outgrown, a partner left behind. Life is a river, always moving, reshaping us as it flows. For women, aging often brings a hunger for more meaning, more adventure, more of themselves. But what happens when her husband stays anchored in the shallows, content with the same old drift? That divide can turn a shared journey into a solitary trek, leaving her feeling tethered to a life she's outgrown. Take Marianne, a 70-year-old retired librarian who once lived for her family's rhythm. She spent decades tying shoelaces, planning picnics, cheering at soccer games. But with her kids grown, she felt a spark ignite. Dreams of painting classes, trips to Italy, book clubs with lively debates. She'd turn to her husband, David, with a hopeful smile. Let's try something new. He'd sink deeper into his recliner, muttering, I like things as they are. To Marianne, it wasn't just about the plans, it was about feeling alive. David didn't see her restlessness, and that blindness stung. This clash of priorities isn't just a disagreement, it's a fracture. Marianne spent years nurturing others. Now she wants to bloom. But David's refusal to join her feels like a chain. Resentment festers not from boredom, but from the ache of being held back. If you've felt your dreams pulling you forward while your partner digs in their heels, drop a 4 below. I'm here with you, 5. The fading warmth of touch and words. There's a magic in the small things, a brush of fingers, a whispered, you're beautiful, a hug that says, I'm here. For many women, the slow disappearance of affection, both physical and emotional, cuts deeper than any argument. It's not about grand gestures, but the everyday warmth that says, you're still my person. When that fades, the loss echoes like a hollow wind through a once lively home. Picture Ruth, a 73-year-old former secretary with a love for gardening. She and her husband George used to sway together in the kitchen, his hand resting on her waist as they cooked. He'd call her his sunshine, making her blush. But now, George barely glances up from his phone. The hugs stopped, the compliments dried up. And when Ruth said, I miss us, he chuckled. We're too old for that. To him, it's a joke. To her, it's a wound. She doesn't need passion every night. She needs to feel wanted, seen. Affection isn't a luxury, it's oxygen for a marriage. Without it, Ruth feels like a ghost in her own life. She's tried, leaving notes, reaching for his hand, but George doesn't budge. So she retreats, and resentment fills the space where love once lived. If you've craved that lost warmth, you're not alone in that quiet ache. 6. The sting of being expected, not cherished. Love starts with gratitude, a thank you for a warm meal, a smile for the way she remembers what matters. But over time, that gratitude can harden into expectation. And for many women, that shift is a slow poison. When everything she does, every meal, every kind word, becomes just what she does, she stops feeling like a partner and starts feeling like a cog in a machine. Take Laura, a 74-year-old retired principal with a talent for baking. For decades, she filled their home with the scent of cinnamon rolls, kept George's shirts pressed, and planned surprises for their anniversaries. Early on, George would beam, "You're amazing." But somewhere along the way, the thanks stopped. Now, if she skips a tradition, he frowns. "Where's my pie?" One evening, after kneading dough for hours, she asked, "Do you see what I do for us?" George shrugged. "It's what you've always done." That shrug broke something in her. Being taken for granted isn't loud. It's a whisper that erodes joy. Laura's not asking for medals. She's asking to be noticed. When George assumes her love is a given, he misses how tired she's grown. If you've felt your giving become invisible, drop a 6 below. You're not alone. 7. Two paths that no longer meet. Sometimes, the hardest truth is the simplest. They've grown apart. The man she once stayed up with, plotting a future under the stars, now feels like a shadow of someone she knew. It's not a fight that splits them, but a slow unraveling. Years of routine, of letting life overshadow love, until she looks at him and wonders, "Who are you?" Meet Grace, a 76-year-old former social worker with a passion for photography. She and her husband Paul used to dream big: travel, a cabin by the lake, endless talks about life's mysteries. But as time wore on, Paul settled into a rhythm of golf and TV, while Grace yearned to chase sunsets with her camera. She'd try to share her world, but Paul's aha felt like a door closing. One night, showing him a photo she'd taken, she saw his blank stare and realized he didn't know her anymore. And maybe he never would. Growing apart isn't dramatic. It's a quiet heartbreak. Grace mourns the Paul who once cared, while he drifts on, oblivious. For her, it's not just loneliness, it's the sting of a love that slipped away. If you've felt that distance widen, you're not the only one staring across that gap. The weight of a life unshared. What happens when a woman looks back and sees a life she built with someone who never truly joined her in it? It's not just about growing apart. It's about realizing the partnership she dreamed of was a solo act. This isn't resentment over chores or affection. It's the ache of a story half told. A journey where she walked alone while he watched from the sidelines. Take Evelyn, a 75-year-old artist who once saw marriage as a canvas for two. She and her husband Martin started with big plans. Raising kids, yes, but also chasing passions together. She'd paint, he'd write, they'd inspire each other. But Martin's ambition faded. He took a desk job and stayed there, content to let Evelyn carry the dreams. She raised their daughters, joined art groups, filled galleries with her work, all while Martin nodded from afar. One day, hanging a painting he'd never asked about, she thought, this was supposed to be our life. The realization hit. He'd opted out, leaving her to live it alone. Evelyn's resentment isn't loud. It's a quiet grief. She didn't need Martin to paint. She needed him to care. He thinks their life is fine. Kids raised, bills paid. But Evelyn sees a partnership that never bloomed. She recalls a friend, June, who faced the same. Decades of solo dreams, while her husband tinkered in the garage. If you've carried a shared vision alone, this weight might feel familiar, rich with effort, heavy with solitude. Final thoughts, a mirror and a map. So here we are, at the end of this winding road. Resentment doesn't crash into a marriage like a storm. It seeps in, drop by drop, through years of feeling unheard, unseen, uncherished. It's the coffee gone cold, the silence that deafens, the dreams left to gather dust. But here's the light through the cracks. Recognizing these patterns isn't just a mirror to reflect pain, it's a map to find your way back or forward wherever your heart needs to go. You're not alone in this. Countless women have sat where you might be, wondering if it's too late, if their voice still matters. It's not, and it does. Whether it's a conversation that rekindles a spark, a boundary that reclaims your worth, or a new chapter entirely, you deserve a life where you're valued. Tell me, what struck you deepest today? Drop your thoughts below. I'd love to hear your story. And if this resonated, leave a 1 if it moved you, a 0 if it didn't. I'm here to listen and grow with you.